PTF and JK back with you for Saturday analysis at Santa Anita. Going to be covering Santa Anita for the foreseeable future. We've got going to have great content. Hopefully, JK will continue to be a part of it. We're our Gulfstream championship meet coverage, obviously ending with the end of the championship meet, but stuff out of the Great Rate Place continues unabated, and we love this $2 pick six. Going to be fun. By the time many are listening, it will have already happened, but there's this $70,000 carryover in the Friday one. I think I might come right back and take another shot at it on this Saturday card. It kicks off in race number 5. JK, before we dive in, just a generally your thought about the $2 pick six at Santa Anita. You know, at some point I was thinking maybe the $1 is the sweet spot, but I got to tell you, call me old school, I've really enjoyed having the $2 increment back.
Well, I think that yeah, you know, I'm a card carrying member of that fan club as well, the higher minimums. Look, I think that the idea that you want to make a lower minimum to make wagers more accessible for smaller players, it's just the wrong way to look at it. I think that there's a lot of opportunities for smaller players to get involved. I think that there's the 10-cent super. I think it's a great opportunity for smaller players to play lottery type tickets. I think the 50-cent pick 5 is very approachable for a lot of players. I think the pick 6 is one of those things you should keep it premium. You should keep it at that higher level. And on bigger days, maybe people can save up or they have a big score they can play. But I think you want to protect that wager because the $2 minimum actually is more player friendly. It makes it more approachable because the computers can't be as efficient and take all the meat off the bone. The $2 minimum allows for there to be meat on the bone for the smaller player. I mean, how often do you see it, Pete, where you know, it happens to me often, especially at Saratoga. I'll be walking around and somebody will walk up to me and say, like I memorized it, "Hey, can you believe the early pick 5 only paid $530? Did you see it?" Well, no, I'm trying to do the math. I don't know. But the reason that it feels that way is because the meat has been scraped off the bone by the computers because of the efficiency of the smaller minimums. That won't happen very often in a higher denomination at a $2 pick 6. So that was my 30 to 45 second rant about why I like it so much.
I think it's a good rant. Let's go on to this pick 6 on Saturday. There's some good racing, but it's a little bit of a calm before the storm. Obviously, Santa Anita Derby next weekend. Going to have tons of coverage of that on the podcast side, in the Money Players podcast, wherever you get your pods, and also over at the In the Money Media YouTube channel. We encourage everybody to subscribe so you don't miss any of our YouTube exclusive content, because there's a lot of it going to be coming down the pipe. And while you're there, go ahead and like the videos you're watching too. That helps us out as well. But we kick off with some bread and butter stuff here in the Saturday card. Nickel claimers, JK, going a mile on the dirt. I was fairly uncreative, I'm not going to lie. I had this down to about 3 runners, but curious to see what you thought in terms of how we can get this thing started going in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I think that this is a great opportunity with that $2 minimum. You know, with the multiples can get your ticket to be pretty expensive pretty fast. Ice cold single to the 4, Happy does. This horse has been running the starter allowance races. He's got a little bit of tactical speed. He's got nice final figures. He's dropping in to this $5,000 tag. And the great thing about this is that if I can single in a 10 horse $5,000 claimer to start the pick 6, the equity that I can build up and maybe being able to repeat my ticket and have a $4 ticket or a $6 ticket or a $10 ticket, depending on the rest of the sequence, it's such a weapon. And now the good news is that if the 9 wins or the 10 wins, who I would have had to spread to get to, I can just come back and play the pick 5 for 50 cents.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's a good way of looking at it. I think in the end, I'm going to go with 2. I do like yours. Happy does. Makes all the sense in the world. Another dropper of interest to me was the number 1, Brother O'Brien. This one getting back into the lower claiming ranks where he's had plenty of success. Winning kind for the level. I just think this horse fits pretty well. Going to be coming from further back. So, probably wise to maybe press up the 4 or at least show some preference in the wagering for the 4. Happy does. But those are the 2 for me, Happy does and Brother O'Brien, to kick things off as we move on to the turf, the main oval turf, for a 6.5 furlong race with a field of 10 going postward. And JK, I'm going to throw the ball right back in your court.
Couldn't find the mute button, but I found it. Sometimes it's hard to find it, but I
That
found it.
doesn't count. I'm not going to call that stuck on mute. I knew you were coming in. I didn't have to
I was
remind
coming. I
you.
just I was
You win.
moving windows. Yeah, this one's just looking for a standout here. This is the 6.5 variety, if I'm not mistaken, that is not down the hill.
Correct. Main oval, I said. Yes.
Okay, makes me sad when that happens. Are we far enough away from that now that we can? Okay. To me, I'm going to spread a little bit here. I'm going to use the 2 and the 3, who drawn towards the inside. Those two just it makes sense. The last 2 runs from them are definitely good enough to win this spot. And then it's one of those deals where stretch outs and turf sprints can be a little tricky. I think sometimes it can work into the favor of a horse that can be controlling and be tactical. It's a little bit different when it's down the hill, but when it's on the main oval, I'm a little bit more accepting for a stretch out in a turf sprint. So the 7 unwritten code, who's been running around 6 furlongs the last few times, but does have tactical speed and is right there in the mix, is one that I wanted to make sure I had. And then the 10 Ivory Moon drawn outside. Look, Peter Miller he does a great job in turf sprints. And usually for him, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt if he's trying to do something that I don't typically agree with in terms of like a 5 furlong stretch out or whatever it might be. But he's drawn well to the outside. And I like that in turf sprints because I feel like getting stopped in a turf sprint is probably the most dramatic way to be stopped, the most impactful race you can be stopped in. And I think being drawn outside, while you might lose ground, whether you're rallying late or you're chasing or you're stalking, you might lose ground, but you don't get stopped. And I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, you made that point a lot, and I probably need to be looking at it a little bit more. So 2, 3 on the A line, 7 and 10 on the B line for you. I'll put 1 forward. Number 4.
All A's, Pete.
Those are all A's. Okay,
yeah,
you're not
there.
splitting them. You're not splitting.
No, all A's there. Yeah, all A's.
All right, I can make that adjustment very easily in the notes I'm going to send around to our In the Money Plus people. I'll mention a horse that you didn't talk about, and that is number 4, Over Attracted. This one, dirt last time. I'm not too worried about that. Didn't really seem to enjoy the downhill 2 back. But you go back to the last main turf oval sprint, and it was one of the horse's better efforts for sure. And I also just thought this one might set up for a closer. I mean, 6.5 main oval, you still want to be speed, but there's just so much of it in here. This was a horse who was going to be a price who I think will be running, and I want to key some stuff around. I absolutely agree with you about the 3, Lady Gregory. I think we'll get a great trip on or near the front, and that's one I want. And then number 7, Unwritten Code, is another one I thought you could make a little bit of a case for. Very good form, definitely moving up in class here, but too sharp to ignore and a chance to prove one of the best speeds for one. Definitely she's a winning kind for the level. So I'm going to call it 4-3-7, JK's 2, 3, 7, and 10 as we proceed to race number 7. $16,000 claimers going a mile on the dirt. Field of 9. Who will be on your tickets?
Yeah, not a strong opinion here. I mean, this is a tough spot. 5, 8, 9. And if I'm having a good day, maybe I'll throw in the 1 Supermax as well. Switching to John Sadler. I think John Sadler is an outstanding trainer. I mean, not that you need to be reminded about what he did with Flightline, but I think he's one of those that can train any type of horse. And so when I see a horse moving to him, I give a little bit extra credit. So 1, 5, 8, 9 in here is who I would use.
Once again, you're not going to grade. You sort of mentioned the 1 as a secondary, but you 1 as an A as well.
Yeah, 1 is an A. I mean, I guess if you need to pop a top pick, I would pick the 9 just based on that last race. But I don't trust the 9 enough to not use some others.
I gotcha. I had some different runners even. It's a competitive race. Number 2, Big Bet, I thought was interesting, getting back to the dirt and dropping in class, basically, after winning the maiden 4 back and then running competitively in a starter, running poorly in a starter, and then the turf experiment. I thought might get a good mid-pack type trip in here, maybe second flight, and could be seen to better effect. I like the fact that this horse was 10-1 on the morning line as well. If that prediction is probably why I put that one over a runner like the 9 Bowtie Boys, who you made the case for. Yakteen Barn going very well. I think that horse makes a lot of sense. And then the third one I wanted in the mix was number 6, Sir Maximus, another horse who won the maiden claimer on the dirt, been doing other things, now getting back to the easiest field on dirt since the maiden win. I just thought the horse was logical. 2, 6, and 9 for me, but I don't blame anybody who wants to spread more, use even all of our horses that we mentioned in that race. Let's get to race number 8, graded stakes action in the Wilshire, going a mile on the turf. And this was one for me where I thought you could get skinny, JK. I'm curious to get your point. But I thought number 1, Tirapati, just looked like the old fastest horse who's going to get a good trip angle in this spot. I wasn't sure if you needed to go too much farther. In the market, Alpha Bella, currently 2-1 on the morning line. One folks will be looking at Uncorked as well, 5-2 on the morning line. But I thought the one had a clear edge over those two rivals, and I was okay rowing in alone. How will you approach the Wilshire?
Yeah, I want to use the 3 as well. I'm going to use the 1-3, I think. I talked about John Sadler earlier. It's funny, like this horse ran on the turf, a majority of the time for Pletcher. And then when the horse moves to Sadler's barn, Sadler just says, okay, let's dirt this guy. And he dirts 3 times, where she runs second. She runs well. And I think now he's just like, well, how do we get her over the hump here? Well, Todd had her on the turf. Let's give her a swing on the turf here. The one thing I do like about her is she has tactical speed. So in a turf race, that's always a weapon. So I would 1-3, very similar to we talked about on the Gulfstream video we did. I'd probably come back and play a ticket with the 1 singled, but I want to have the 3 as an A. I don't want to downgrade to a B to try to get that equity right. I'll just come back with another ticket with the 1 single.
I like it. Let's go to race number 9, an allowance race going 6.5 on the dirt. Looks like there is plenty of pace in here, but I still landed on a speed horse, number 9, Devil Among Us. So I thought was just interesting as the outermost drawn of the speed. I thought that meant maybe would get a very good trip under Maldonado, hoping we don't get caught dueling, chasing wide. But I thought there was a way that trip could work out. I also thought the 6, Tessuto, was pretty interesting in this spot. This is a dropper who I also thought might get the right kind of trip if the pace, in fact, is too fast. So I wanted one from mid-pack and one from the front here. Call it 9 and 6 for me. What do you like?
Look, this is a race I feel like I want to spread. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 would make me feel nice if I had all of those. But I will say this specifically about the 1 and the 2. Once upon a time, it was like, I think it was before my first NHC I ever played in. I did this. Yeah, it was. I actually emailed Nick Tamero for the first time before we even became friends, because I was like kind of like wanting to talk to him about this idea that I had done, where basically I went through every distance at Santa Anita and like identified a bunch of different things. But one of them was the style of the winner. Was the winner a speed horse? Was the winner a closer? And the most closer-friendly distance at Santa Anita of all of the races over like a 2-year period was 6.5 on the dirt. And so, which was shocking to me, and odd. I'm sure people are wondering, what's the most speed favoring? It was 7 furlongs on the dirt was the most speed favoring. So I've always given extra credit, not only at Santa Anita, but everywhere, to horses that close going 6.5. So look, I need to spread here if I can. That $2 minimum makes it a little bit tougher for certain budgets, but I don't want to send you to a gunfight with a knife.
Well, and the thing is, we talk about this in terms of the pick 6. That's how our deal with Santa Anita / First Racing works. We're going to talk about the pick 6, but it doesn't mean you need to bet the pick 6. It's always best to find where your opinions line up with ours, where the value is. You could play a price horse to win that we talk about. You could get involved in the double or the pick 3. Never want to just send people and say, oh, we're talking about these races, so this is what you're supposed to bet. We want to be much sharper than that and allow you to construct the wagers that align most closely with your opinions. That is weird about the 6.5 and the being closer and the 7 being speed. But there's like I could tell you a story about why it might be. But what I'd really love is if you're talking about your first time out in Vegas there, you're talking 10 years ago. Plus, at this point, somebody should update those stats. If we have a databaser out there who wants to use their program to look and update those stats, I'd be very curious. It wouldn't surprise me at all, JK, if it's evolved over time. And I'm sure it wouldn't surprise you either.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's probably one of those things that changes. But I actually talked to Richie Migliore about it one time, where I told him my kind of like half-cocked idea, and his eyes kind of lit up, and he said, "Yeah, I got to be honest. My idea was that they run 6 furlong races so much in this country and so often that I don't really feel like riders, and I'm not trying to take anything away from riders, but I don't think riders are out there differentiating 6 and 6.5. I feel like they're riding them the same. And Richie said, yeah, I rode them the same. I didn't treat them. I didn't say, oh, I'm going 6.5 today versus 6. And I think that that extra half furlong in a race in which people are riding it the same as they would ride a 6 furlong race can sometimes, lead to a horse coming from out of it.
Yeah, and by the same token, right, with 7, maybe they're conscious of their horse's stamina concerns and they're riding a bit more conservatively. We have seen that before in races, even a race as important as the Derby, 1 year in 4 or whatever, maybe more often than that. You're worried about getting the 1.25 miles. Maybe you're not so aggressive. Maybe a horse can wire the field if others are worried about their stamina. I definitely think about that in terms of my race design. But anyway, let's get some new data on this. If somebody's out there who has these kind of numbers, wants to use a tool like Race Lens to look at this, I'd love to hear what the numbers say updated for these different sprint distances. Racing has changed so much in 10 years, not least now with some the Northern California horses down. You've got different quality racing, some, I'm not to insult it, but lower quality racing happening. In my mind, the lower the quality, the better speed. Because a lot of times horses at those levels, they just don't want to pass anyway. That's why you'll see the pars for pace figures in maiden claimers are actually faster than maiden special weights. It ain't because they're better horses. It's just the dynamics and the way those races play out. We've got one more race to talk about. It's the nightcap, 6.5 on the main oval. Once again, I guess they're saving the downhill for next weekend, maybe. But we've got a field of 11. And when it comes to this $2 pick 6 we've been talking about, JK, how are we going to get paid?
Well, this is an interesting one because there's a lot of firsters in here that I'm curious about. I definitely want to have the 1 and the 9, right? Or excuse me, the 1 of the 8. The 1 of the 8. The 1 of the 8. But there is some horses in here, the one specifically that I have my eye on that I want to see the workout report on, which is the 3 Auntie, who is an Uncle Mo out of Rubalinda. Remember, Rubalinda was that really impressive horse for Chad Brown, who had won first time out with a blazing fast number, super talented Frankel on the grass. So you'd like to think this Uncle Mo out of a Frankel mare, who was a talented one in Rubalinda, should have a little bit of ability. But at the same time, I want to know. I don't want to just – because my ticket's expensive already, especially with the spread in the last race. So I want to make sure here. So it's going to be the 1-8 for me with my eyes on the 3 and the other firsters to take an idea to see where they are from a workout standpoint. The 3 will at least be a B no matter what, but could get elevated if the workouts push me that way.
I'll pop that note in the stuff we send around to our friends over at In the Money Plus. Yeah, that's an interesting poll on Rubalinda for sure. Funny that you mistakenly said the 9, because the 9's actually the horse that I like the best in this spot. I thought was very interesting for Michael McCarthy. There is a hint, just a hint of turf in this pedigree, but it was more that this horse comes out of a fast maiden race on the dirt now. Second time starter for McCarthy, making this surface switch. I just thought this horse might be better, being bet to 7-1 in a race that came back fast, a little bit better than what the market is going to give her credit for. I definitely wanted some 9s. And you mentioned the other obvious one, this Sun Glow, showed speed for the stateside debut and was bet in there and very obviously could improve with that race under her girth. I got it 9-1, 1-8 for JK with the 3 as a backup. And that's the pick 6 at Santa Anita on Saturday. JK, any closing thoughts ahead of this big weekend of racing, or just about all the stuff we've got coming down the pike here at the In the Money Media Network over the next several weeks heading into the Derby?
My mic works because it turned off, so you can hear me. Okay, good. Yeah, no, nothing much. Yeah, we got some new stuff coming out next week. We're going to drop a bunch. We got a new partner. We'll announce that next week. We have a new partner that we're going to be working with through the Triple Crown, which is exciting. So you'll see some newly branded videos, and it should be a lot of fun.
Going to be fun. Going to get to see in person on Monday. We'll do some recording. Looking forward to that. Everybody out there, have a great weekend. We appreciate you and all your support. We appreciate our founding partners at 10 Strike Racing, a couple of runners on Saturday. We got an In the Money Plus show with Marshall Graham, representing the purple and black of 10 Strike Racing. Our charity partners, we so appreciate Kim Weir and Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga and all the great work that they do. To learn more about their mission, to give generously to their cause, check out inthemoneypodcast.com/horses. Most of all, though, I want to thank all of you, the listeners, the viewers, the In the Money Plus subscribers, the Inner Circle subscribers, for making these shows so much fun to do. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatel. May you win all your photos.